the carefully contrived spontaneity of the shocking Epstein files release. Whenever a scandal like the Epstein files dominates the news, we can be certain that it is meant as a distraction from something more sinister on the horizon. The Epstein files have been in the hands of the FBI for 8 years or more. Then why have redacted files been released just recently? Cui bono? And who is behind the release that did not occur over the course of the first Trump and the Biden administrations? Cui bono? Does the genocide in Gaza and the U.S. proxy war against Russia, both supported by Biden and Trump, fit into the timing and redactions, since we can assume that the Mossad, CIA, NSA, and MI6 have also long had access to the files? A U.S.-Israel attack on Iran? For, like movies, all propaganda and cover-ups have carefully chosen release dates. Last question. Why would anyone be shocked by the contents of the Epstein files, although many people seem to be? Yes, more names have been added to the list of degenerate elites who were happily part of Epstein's criminal enterprise, but the revelation of more names only confirms how extensive it was. We have long known of the criminal activities of the degenerate Epstein, the financiers, celebrities, politicians, and public figures who joined him. Sexual blackmail, cooperation between intelligence agencies and the underworld, secret financial deals, war planning in the name of peace, etc., are how capitalism has long operated. While those who research such things have long known this, see e.g. Whitney Webb's Under Blackmail, 2 volumes, the ordinary person may be finally grasping it, but shocking it is not. And the may should be emphasized. All of us have long been living in a culture of increasing shock, rot, where the most grotesque news and entertainment are staples of the mass media. From Washington, D.C. to Hollywood and all around the internet, the monkey chased the weasel. The monkeys thought it was all in fun, and then pop goes the weasel. Being shocked seems to be very popular. It spices up lives, induces that frisson that only sex, death, and the weather can bring to daily conversations. Can you believe it? And unbelievable. Echo across the land and spring from lips, screens, and websites everywhere, as they invite you to come hither to be flabbergasted and have your head spun vertiginously. Ordinary people have become Regan McNeil, the young girl possessed by a demon in The Exorcist. If the corporate media ever went very deep, they would have to expose themselves as agents of the same forces behind Epstein's rise to power. How often do these media connect Epstein to Israel, the Mossad, the CIA, etc.? It is not only evil individuals who rule, but a structure of evil. A system, if you like, a social system deeply ingrained, publicly run currently by the evil moron Trump, who, in a recent interview with the New York Times, when asked if he felt there were any limits on his global power, said, "Yeah, there is one thing, my own morality, my own mind. It's the only thing that can stop me." This statement let the cat out of the bag. It is the nihilist's credo, basic to today's ethos. No honor, no traditional ethical standards, no God, no love for humanity, just fake and deceptive news meant to shock, and a do-your-own-thing U.S. President talking punk kid talk. Yeah. Unbelievable. I know words. I have the best words. But there's no better word than stupid. Cue the soundtrack. The French New Wave filmmaker Jean-Luc Godard famously said, "To make a film, all you need is a girl and a gun." Well, we have the Epstein movie, and in it, he and his venal and sordid friends had the girls, but who holds the guns and not the penises behind their criminal enterprises is left unaddressed. When caught in flagrante, the media loves to expose certain individuals who take their pants down for sexual abuse purposes, but they find it impossible to take down those depraved villains who commit atrocities on ordinary people day in and day out throughout the world. Let's call them the producers. They shape and pay for the news. The reality TV president Donald Trump, the face of explicit imperialism and dictatorial domestic rule, a gross brutish thug whose core maxim is might makes right and whose name appears manifold times in the Epstein files, knows well how the game is played. After his televised fight with Zelensky last year, or was it before the fight, he said, "This is going to make great television." So too the Epstein movie. Maybe a series, and, as in the past, none engaged in this wretched and criminal activity, except for Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, will probably ever serve prison time. No shock there either. As for shocks, it is better to watch the Winter Olympics and be shocked by favored athletes falling on ice and snow. Those falls are at least real. There is a painting in a villa still visible at the entrance to the House of the Veti in ruined Pompeii that tells us much about the Epstein files and power and wealth. It perfectly symbolizes one aspect of the gap between the international ruling classes, i.e., the dirty details in the Epstein documents, minus the answer to who has been running the blackmail operation and why, and the rest of us. It pictures the god Priapus weighing his penis on a scale of gold coins, as if to say, "Gold, God, wealth, and power, we rule. Fuck you." It's an old story told by nihilistic men, desperate to prove their potency by dominating vulnerable girls and women and the entire world. Many have been asking, how is it possible for Epstein and all those named and unnamed to have done such evil and criminal things? Evil seems to greatly perplex modern intellectuals. Do they think El Diablo is a salsa brand? Hannah Arendt's explanation of Adolf Eichmann's behavior, the banality of evil, is one such explanation being coughed up now for Epstein's behavior. Others say that he had no conscience or couldn't reason like an adult, that he wasn't very smart but was an excellent con man, that he was a narcissist. These are superficial explanations. None get to the heart of the matter. As usual, and completely erroneously, some blame it on Nietzsche and the Obermensch idea, the overman or superman. Nietzsche, like Russia, is often blamed for every modern evil by those who have internalized false notions about his work. In fact, Nietzsche warned that since men had killed God, something extraordinarily nasty and evil is about to make its debut. He was not happy about it. The brilliant, underrated late writer Edward Dahlberg, in an essay about Nietzsche, The True Nietzsche, has this to say about him. He denounced race politics, another word for Jew baiting, calling himself a good European, an anti-Semite. Nothing helped. The anti-Jewish Parteigenossen presented him to the public as a Teuton Politiker, and so he is presented to the present day, distorted for ideological purposes. One wonders who actually reads anymore. Apropos of language usage and the degradation of understanding, Dahlberg adds, "We have made language so common that we have ceased to be symbolic readers. Unless we examine the total intellect of the poet as his text, we shall misinterpret Blake or Shakespeare just as foolishly as Nietzsche has been distorted." To grasp words symbolically is to understand how good writers use them in their many meanings, not just literally, like spalls fallen from a scree littering a road to nowhere, but how they make them vibrate and sparkle and dip deep and fly high like luminescent birds, so others may contemplate deeply and think once, twice, and maybe more. Think of Trump's crude use of language. Think of Epstein's. Think of the culture at large. We have descended into a time of gross ignorance, and our cultural decadence is reflected in the decadence of our language. Trump and Epstein reflect the larger culture in this respect. Clearly, one reason for this is the internet and digital media, particularly the cell phone with its camera and text messaging. It is also an important reason for the vast and constant communication between Epstein and his friends, as well as the ease with which blackmail could be effected. This is no accident. Some of us have been lucky to have experienced at a young age the rot at the heart of the system. I think of the recently deceased great journalist Michael Parenti, who because of his anti-war views was blackballed out of a career in academia, but who used that experience to become a free teacher to the world. In my early naive 20s, I was working nights in the 42nd Police Precinct in the Bronx, interviewing arrestees in holding cells. There I learned that many were framed by the undercover cops who planted drugs on them, that the precinct had a hoard of illegal drugs for that purpose. Thinking I was his ally, one cop told me this, and that we have to get these dirty fucking bastards off the streets, by which he meant Black and Puerto Rican men. This was 4 to 5 years before the honest, courageous NYPD undercover cop Frank Serpico, who in later life became a friend, was set up by other cops to be shot in the face. A few years later, the movie Serpico, starring Al Pacino, was made about him. There is always a movie. At a school where I was teaching, a man who held a high position and whom I respected, knowing I was involved in anti-war activities, tried, to my great shock, to recruit me into Army intelligence. These and numerous other examples set me on the early path of skepticism about the faces of authority. I am grateful for these early lessons.